It's time for the one and the only show. It can only be the Luke Howard Show live. Morning. Good morning. Hope everyone is well, and we've got another good show for you today. It is Wednesday, the 5th of August. 5 days into August already. Hasn't the time gone quick? I think it's gone quite quick myself. Gosh, it has gone quick. It is the 5th today. It is the 5th of August. Blimey, it's not my birthday. My birthday's in February, just to let you know. Not on the 5th of August. But we've got lots of things to talk about this date, because today is a very special day for if you are I would believe, oyster fan. I mean, I have got a story to tell about oysters, so I will get to that later on in the show. Oysters, I'll get to that later on, because today is Oyster Day, so we'll talk lots about that later on in the show. And if you would like to get in touch with Britain's Best Radio Show today, then go ahead. 07593 847 105 is the number to text. If you are texting, I would suggest you to start with the word talk and your name and where you are from, because of course we need to know who you are, where you're from, so we can say who you are and where you're from, and not house number. I mean, like, what town, if you know what I mean. Just say what town and who you are and why you're listening today. And I'd like to actually know that. I would love to know how you found this show. Did you just browse through the Spreaker Live radio show page? Or did you just find, or did you just follow us on Instagram? Or we'll get to that in a moment. Or you can call 07593 847 105. I mean, we'd love to hear however you got to get hold of the show, or would love to just hear, however, your story, whatever you're doing, whatever you're up to. Love to hear from you. Call that number, 07593 847 105 is the number to dial. Do let us know who you are, and then I'll get back to you, or I might even get to you straight away, you never know with me. Or you can find us on Instagram, which is at the Luke Howard fan page, not at the Luke Howard fan page, it's the Luke Howard fan page, because I only just realised you haven't actually got to do the acting unless you're mentioning someone in the thing. But, yeah, so if you are looking on Instagram, do let us know and get in touch with us on there, and then we'll give you a mention via there. Or email us, it's GaryJHoward68@hotmail.com, or use the other email, which is 345-457-student.hrc.ac.uk. Or you can use the hashtag, which is hashtag Luke Howard, hashtag Luke Howard Show, or hashtag listen to the Luke Howard Show. Love to hear from you. However you do get in touch with the show, then do leave your name, though, of course, and where you're from, because we won't know who you are if you don't do that. If you just say hello, the best thing to do is to just get in touch that way, and we'll give you a big mention on Britain's Best Radio Show. So go ahead. We'd love to hear from you. So we're talking about oysters later on in the show today, and we're talking about airports now, because I want to go straight into our news review now, okay, because I want to discuss about it's to do with airports, okay, with airports, because what they're doing is the spread of coronavirus in our country could have been showed with earlier quarantine restrictions on arrivals. With a group of MPs have actually said a lot about this, because the Home Affairs Committee has said a lack of border measures earlier in the pandemic was a serious mistake. Of course, it was a serious mistake. They're right there. Now, it added ministers that had unstrict measured the rate of importing the virus from Europe. This is as opposed to Asia. But a Home Office, this is a spokeswoman, she said the committee were incorrect in their answerations. Now, she added all of our decisions, this is throughout this pandemic, with what is going on right now, have been guided by the science, with appropriate measure. This is introduced the night time to keep us all safe, of course. In their report, the committee backed a decision not to close the UK's borders. This is actually to earlier stages of the crisis, given the large number of returning British nationals. Now, I know this myself anyway, so I know what they're going on about. Now, It's also added that a requirement for people arriving from certain countries to quarantine was introduced in early last month. And I remember this very well. I think it was the 1st of June, was it? No, it was the 8th of June, wasn't it? The 8th of June was when it was introduced. Because I remember, because 1 week was when they were going to do that, and the next week was when the shops were opening back up. So this week was when they were introducing the quarantine for when you do come back. I mean, why can't they just have done it straight away? But they like to do things by dates in this country. They like to do things by dates, and I know they do. Now, since then, though, those arriving in the UK have to self-isolate for 14 days. Remember that. We have spoken about this on the show, or you've got to face the threat of fines, of course. If you don't do it, then you will face the threat of fines, which each of the UK's 4 nations is actually complying a list of exempted countries. You have to do the 14 days of isolation unless you've got a very good reason for it. Because if you have got a very good reason for it, then you don't have to do it. Just give the police your reason, then you won't have to do your self-isolation. Now, during February this year and early March, all passengers from the Hebei province, this is in China, and certain areas of South Korea, as well as from later, it was Italy, wasn't it? Because it went to Italy, then it came over to this country as well. Oh, well, it eventually did anyway, we all know that. And it was asked to self-isolate for 14 days on arrival. Now, the MPs criticised a decision, okay? They criticised a decision not to include Spain. Now, I've said this many times, we know loads of people who live in Spain, loads of people, okay? And on the early list, it was adding that government advice had officially focusing on Asian countries and did not recognise soon enough the risk of importing this virus from Europe. They also added that a latest edition, which was on the 30th of March, which was quite a few months ago now, because it has gone quite quick. It has gone very quick these months. It's also to end self-isolation advice for international arrivals. This is not displaying symptoms that had been exploitable. Now, I must say, just come off this for a moment. I must say, there was one more way you can get in touch with us, and I say this every single day. Just leave a message below where this show's broadcasting. Just go underneath and have your say, and we'll mention your say on the show. Anyway, the Home Office has also said, okay, that this advice, and I know this anyway, it was replaced by guidance, okay, advising all people in the UK, including arrivals, to self-isolate if they developed symptoms. So if you have developed symptoms, then please do self-isolate. And I've said this many times on the show, many times. Do self-isolate if you have got symptoms. If you are listening to the show right now and you have got symptoms, please do self-isolate. It's that simple. Don't go out for 2 weeks. Just stay at home. Protect yourself. Protect the NHS. Protect other people. And if you do go out, please wear a face mask, because you will protect yourself and, of course, protect other people. I mean, I'm on the vulnerable list, so obviously I don't have to wear one. I'm on the vulnerable list, so I don't have to wear one, which is good. Citing evidence from scientific studies, the MP said it was likely that thousands of infected people that arrived in the UK before full lockdown came in 10 days later. It did come 10 days later, because I remember it came 10 days later. It is also highly likely that this contributed to the rapid increase. This is also in the spread of the virus. And in mid-March, to the overall scale of outbreak in the UK, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was in north, and then it eventually came down to us down south. But our friends in the north it was up there first. Then it came down to us down south. But this, I don't know what happened there. But this is also the second parliamentary report in a week that I think it accused the government of serious errors. Last week's criticised how hospital patients were discharged to care homes without a COVID test. Now, they've also set a lot of tents up in cities, and we spoke about this yesterday. Just let you know, if you do want to get a test and you've got a local tent, local centre in your town where they are testing, get a test. Go down there and just get tested. It does take an hour and a half. I mean, I haven't had my test yet, and I don't think I will have a test because I know I haven't got one. I'm too healthy to have COVID-19. I've got no medical conditions whatsoever, so I know that I haven't got it. I know that I haven't got it because I haven't had the test. So I haven't had a test at all. And I know I haven't got it anyway because I'm very clean. I haven't got a medical condition, so I know I haven't got it. So, but that recommendation was not the same as clear guidance or an absolute legal requirement for passengers to self-isolate, even if they were feeling perfectly well, of course. Now, and that say, though, that the MPs meant travellers in March were able to arrive and move about, this is about much more freely at a critical moment in the spread of this virus across the UK. Now, the committee was added that the decision to withdraw self-isolation advice was very different from countries in similar circumstances. It also concluded that countries that insisted introduce longer border measures, this was such as Singapore, I believe, and been provided justified in doing so. It also said that an official estimate was used to justify the UK's approach, starting that only 5%, I believe 5% of domestic infections had been imported from overseas, and it was not calculated until late March, and that was when everyone had to be off. Late March, because I remember 20th of March, and we spoke about that the other day as well, but I just thought I'd remind everyone that it all started off in our country for us all to be off on the 20th of March. But the MP did point out that the preparation of cases was likely to have even been sustainably higher, but when blanket quarantine advice was lifted earlier that month. But the mandatory quarantine rules was introduced back in June, and they also said that ministers should consider greater testing of arrivals at the UK's borders. Labour MP Yvette Cooper, who chairs the committee, she said it is a former Shadow Home Secretary, said that the lack of stronger quarantine rules in March did make the epidemic worse. Now, she also said that the new guidance was introduced in mid-March, but it didn't cover anybody who was symptomatic, anybody who wasn't sure that the symptoms were there. At a time when other countries were introducing stronger border measures, the UK was lifting them. There've also been no science behind that decision of all, and it's that lack of science, that lack of the transparency that's so concerning. But a Home Office spokeswoman, she said that the government had followed the scientific advice, and with passengers, though numbers are significantly reduced, the scientific advice was clear, and the quarantine measures for those entering the country from abroad would be most effective when the UK has a lower level of infections. And therefore, as the virus was brought under control, they have border measures, don't they? Which were also introduced on the 8th of June, which was 2 months ago, I think it was. 2 months ago on Thursday. No, hang on, no, where are we? Saturday. 2 months ago on Saturday, that was. I think it was, 2 months ago on Saturday. But therefore, it was also to protect health and help avoid the second peak that would overwhelm the NHS. Okay, it would. We all know that anyway. I mean, we know that. Okay, we all know that. Now, one more story then. I want to talk about the pubs and the restaurants and the schools, which is best to open, because they're saying that schools should only close after pubs, restaurants and non-essential shops in the future lockdown. The Children's Commissioner for England has also said, this is Anne Longford, okay, Anne Longfield. She said that children must have a right into an education. But I mean, we did cover a little bit about this yesterday, but we didn't actually cover most of it, which is what I'm going to cover about it now. She said that children have to play a smaller role in spreading COVID-19. I mean, it must be okay. I went to a park the other day with my cousin, and he's only little. He's about 8 years old. I took him to a park the other day. He was playing on the swings. I was playing on the swings, and he was fine. I mean, there was no one there. This was about 7 o'clock in the evening. This was 7 in the evening. So I took him to the park at that time, and it was quite quiet. But it just reminded. And I know it's got nothing to do with schools, but it just reminded me of when I took my cousin to the park the other day, and he was playing on the swings at 7 o'clock in the evening. It was very quiet. It was a lovely, beautiful evening, though. But the government said that getting children back to school is a national priority. Of course it is. Of course it's a good. They need to get them back as soon as they can. I mean, I know it's August and I know it's a summer break, but it doesn't really feel like a summer break, to be honest with you. But they should be back. Okay, they should be back as soon as September the 1st comes. They should go back because they've been off for months. But I think they should go back as soon as September comes back. Now, The Children's Community Agency acknowledges that reducing COVID-19 transmission in the community is very important. Of course it's important in the community, but it should not be automatically assumed that this requires closing schools, but except as a last resort. But the briefing paper calls for the regular testing of pupils and teachers, so any confirmed COVID-19 cases and their closest contacts can be isolated without necessarily having to send an interior classes or year groups home. But in ads, this will be particularly important for the 2020-21 winter flu season, where I think it's going to get. It may come back in the winter because flu comes in the winter, so it may come back then. Do you think it will? Because it could come back again in the winter. I mean, it could do. It could.